All right. So good afternoon and welcome back to this month's Virtual Career Cafe. I'm Amy Goode from the Community Education Center for Elk-Cameron counties, and I'll be the moderator for today. And we're recording this session to make it available for other students who could not make it to our live session. So maybe you have a big idea, a family business you might want to take over someday, or even looking at a career path that leads to opening a business. So today's session is all about taking ownership as our guests talk about their path to entrepreneurship. So I'd like to welcome Rachelle DeLullo. She's the owner of DEA DeLullo Cosmetics in St. Mary's. I have Ryan Magaro from Cameron County, who has a variety of businesses that he can share. And then Michelle Bliss, the owner of Fox's Pizza Den in Port Allegany and a Stitch in Time custom embroidery. Which I'm thinking she's not on here yet. I think she was with Alexis. They must not be on here yet. So we'll introduce her when she gets on. I think they were on the other page. So I guess we'll just start with Rachelle. Do you want to just start us off? Tell us a little bit about your career path and what led you to being an entrepreneur.
Sure. So hi, I'm Rachelle. I'm 26 years old. And so I own a cosmetics company and I do a lot of stuff. I always loved beauty. I'm just going to start from the beginning of kind of how I found where I was going. It wasn't very clear path. So I started out in pharmacy school and that was a great job. But as I got into my fourth and fifth year, so you're almost done, I realized I really wasn't excited about having that job at all. It didn't make me even want to be excited to work or do anything like that. So I ended up stopping going to school at Duquesne, and I switched to finish in my cancer research at Clarion. And I worked in a cancer research lab for about 2 years while going to school there and being an EMT, because I had thought I had wanted to go to med school, which I did. I went to functional medicine school, which is just as cool in aesthetics and everything like that. As I was doing that, I got my biology degree and cancer research certificate. And that is how I am able to make my products and get the manufacturing insurance for them. And while I was there, I ended up getting really sick with tumors. And even last Friday, I still have them. And I think it's because I had worked in a lot of bad environments with chemicals. Last Friday, I had a big surgery in Pittsburgh. So that's why I feel like I look like a mess and I'm like swelled, but we're getting through it. So that's part of owning your own business, is you can't really stop whenever you have surgery or something like that. You still have to kind of keep going the next day or fill your orders or make it work, because that's why you started it. So anyways, that's how I went to school there, finished at Clarion with biology, started the manufacturing in my grad school. I went to Empire Medical for functional medicine and aesthetics. I had, I did the anti-aging skincare and everything like that. I make makeup, I make skincare, and then I also do like lip fillers, wrinkle fillers. I can do microneedling, any anti-aging procedure, which is pretty cool, but I like to stick to the all natural ones because that is what gave me my sickness. And the reason why I had to have so many surgeries and I'm still having so many treatments is because of all the bad chemicals. So everything that I make and do in the aesthetics and cosmetics field is totally vegan, paraben free, cruelty free, phthalate free, anything that disrupts your hormones or anything like that. Everything is totally natural. So that's what I like to stick to. So I don't do Botox. I do the natural alternative, which is called Celotox, and we don't kill any muscles. We microneedle it in to cause like a light, the same effect, but it's just an all natural way of doing it without really hurting anything or causing any damage to anybody. So let me see because I kind of feel like, so that's kind of where I got my big idea, was getting sick and realizing that I wanted to make my own cosmetics and learning how to get really the process done of that and selling online. I did, so that my training was the schools that I talked about. It was Duquesne, Clarion, and Empire Medical. And then you have to take some other extra classes if you want certain insurances. They'll just have you take some online ones if you need any more schooling. What motivated me? My motivation was not liking the careers that I was in, and kind of knew that I wanted to make a career that I did like. So that was kind of enough motivation for me. And inspiration. Who are your mentors? I would say I just would talk to anybody who kind of had a business and say, what did you do? And the owner of Copper Fox Winery has led me along pretty well. My parents own businesses, but I like to go around and I like to talk to people and ask them questions about kind of what they do and how did you learn how to make this? How did you get that certified? How are you able to sell this? And stuff like that, which is really neat. My customers, so I have like two different, so I have a service-based business, and then I also have the online customers, which are pretty cool. It's a good way to intertwine it. So you can get kind of a little bit of everybody, whether they want a service, say they want lip fillers, and then they want like their skincare. It's an awesome way to just intertwine it. So my customers are all from, basically the marketing is all from Snapchat, Facebook, where else? Instagram. I get the most from that. My kindergarten teacher messaged me the other day for me to come in to her house to do a service from Snapchat. And she goes, I just got Snapchat and I saw you on there. And I don't know how it works because I don't know much about social media, but I have so many people on my Snapchat that somehow just pop in, and it's actually really neat and it works out really well. But don't put anything personal on there if you don't want that. But yeah, she messaged me and she goes, oh my gosh, I don't know if you remember me, but I want so and so done. And I was like, I think this is my kindergarten teacher on my Snapchat. But it was pretty cool that people can just like pop in, and then we can schedule and get everything going like that for their home services. What's also nice about my business is you don't really need a set base. You can have like parties at salons or spas, and say like if you want to do like a little filler party or a little facial party, you can go and do that. You can do a cosmetic party. I just mostly do home services because right now a lot of people are doing stuff from homes, and we're on video right now too. So it just kind of makes more sense for people, for them to be healthy. And I noticed just like having places, a lot of people liked it at their homes better. So you do have to carry the stuff around with you and be prepared. But it's nice because you don't have to worry about having a set place, and they're more comfortable in their homes, and it does work out that way. Obstacles. Every day is an obstacle, I feel like, that I was not really prepared for, but you just got to kind of be tough. My current obstacle is just like having my surgery and trying to come back from it and not be like in pain, and just getting my work done right now. That's been a big obstacle, driving around and just doing everything that I have to do, because you can't stop, because if you stop, then everything's done, or your online orders are done. Everyone's going to get mad at you. You just kind of have to keep going as best you can. Which is when I had like a normal, like an EMT job or any of my other jobs that I had before, you're able to take some time off, I feel like. And that's something that you're not really prepared for, is to be working all the time. Like you had time off before, but now even at like 11 o'clock at night, people message me. They're like, I want to book for this. So then I get up and I get my little booking book out, and I'm like, okay, we're going to just book you right now, because if not, I'm going to forget to message you back and it's just going to go crazy, So you got to try to really keep up, and you just got to get used to stuff like that. Being on other people's time and making time for it to go around with everybody. What surprised me the most? It surprised me that it's hard, but I do really, and if you like it and you enjoy it, like what you're doing, you'll really like love everything about it. Future growth. So far, even today. So today I've been taking product pictures. I'm making contour sticks, and I was testing the different consistencies of them on my arm. So I washed it off before we started, because I thought they're probably going to think I like got into a fight or something, because there's all different colors here. But that's stuff that I have been doing since I had surgery. I've been lessening this week on the procedures and more on the science side. I've noticed that this formula is a little bit harder than the other formulas, go on a lot creamier. So it's a lot of mixing and matching and figuring a bunch of different stuff out. And then once I fully figure it out, they'll be manufactured, and then they'll come back to me, and I'll take the pictures, And I'll put them online and get to post them and see if anybody wants to get them, because they're neat and they're made with shea butter, vitamin E, coconut oil, all the fun stuff that I love and that everybody else loves. But we just got to get the formula perfect first. So that is kind of what is going on today here. I think it's exciting. So yeah, if there's any questions, just let me know.
Yeah, students, if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat. One thing too, Rachelle, if you can explain a little bit about the manufacturing, because you don't like actually make these at home, like you figure out the formula, but then you should send it off somewhere else to be manufactured. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted it to be able to, I wanted to be able to sell my products online and not have it be like a girl making products in her basement and getting in trouble if I would send it overseas, or it has to follow a certain code. And manufacturers have those insurances, but I hold my own manufacturing insurance because I make the formulas. So, and then you send it back to them, tell them the tubes that you want, everything like that. Basically, what you have to have the manufacturing insurance is either a biology or a chemistry degree, and you have to take an online test, and it wasn't that hard at all. But I would say just, and you wouldn't have to have your own manufacturing insurance if you were a cosmetic chemist that didn't make their own. So if I just called this manufacturer and said, I want to make 300 of these, you make them however you normally make them. If you have, they have set formulas there. So you can do that as well. The only thing that I don't like about that is they're not really the cream of the crop formulas. There's nothing extra. There are a lot of cheap ingredients. So that's why I like holding my own insurance. So I would send them everything that we're going to make. So I use micas, which are rocks. Normal cosmetics use plastics and grind them up. I have to order in rocks and we grind them up on a mortar and pestle. I was going to see if I have any here. I have like 5 of them. They're up there. But yeah, so that's how we make it differently. And so the plastics don't go into your system. Everything you put on your body goes into your hormones. And the science is really my main thing. I love doing everything because I'm just like an everything type of person. But we use like just rocks. The manufacturing is it's a totally different process. I use a laminar airflow hood to keep everything so we don't have to put a preservative in it. So whenever you open it and it touches the oxygen, then that's when that product will start the aging process. Before then, it is totally preserved until you open it, which is cool, without a preservative. Yeah, so any other questions about like the manufacturing process or how to come up with it? And the ingredients is just a lot of, for me, it's just been a lot of research. Like I use a lot of waxes. I use a lot of different, but the waxes are mostly from plants. I love to use shea butter. I love to use coconut oil. I love to use vitamin E, stuff like that. It's simple, but it's still way better than adding anything else. I hate adding fragrance. What's interesting about these is they smell so strange because of the way the plant wax smells that is in them. And you wouldn't think that, but it's an all natural product. And that's why I was like, oh my gosh, this is the weirdest wax I ever ordered in. But after a while, I kind of like it because I'm like, this is all natural and it's cool. So you get used to it. But yeah, all that different stuff like that.
All right, well, thanks. I'm going to move on to Ryan, and then we'll see if anyone has questions at the end for you. So Ryan, do you want to tell us a little bit about your projects?
Sure, yeah. We have a lot going on at any given time. Kind of to Rachelle's point, when you're a small business owner, and for the first time in my life now, I am fully self-employed here this last about 13 or 14 months. It's a different experience. My wife was hoping to join us today, but she got called to substitute teach. So you take the money where you can and when you can to try to pay the bills. But so she couldn't join me today. But really, I grew up in manufacturing. My dad was a tool and die maker, and I had a small business when I was a young man. Actually worked full-time for someone else and then worked for himself full-time. So he'd spend 16 to 20 hours a day doing his job. And I, to spend time with him, would sit with him on his toolbox. So I tell people I literally grew up on his toolbox in the machine shop. So that led to my normal career path. I started school for mechanical engineering at Pitt, kind of had a similar experience. I realized it wasn't really what I wanted to do. I didn't want to move out of this area and, commit to a lifetime away from what I consider home. So I love to travel, but I really enjoy being here in Cameron and Elk counties. It's a beautiful area. So after a year, I decided to go right directly back into the workforce and started working in a manufacturing facility. And so that was most of my career. What pays the bills is still in manufacturing. But my most recent business is related. So about 2010, I was laying in my son's bedroom. He was probably 3 years old, and we were watching some YouTube videos, and I came across honeybees on the sidebar, basically unrelated to what we were watching. So I came out of the room and told my wife, so we're going to become beekeepers. So she wasn't quite as excited as I was. I'm ADHD, which if any of you are, don't let that thing get to hold you back. If anything, it's actually been something that's helped me have kind of almost a superpower to do many, many things at once and do them actually pretty well. So I came out and decided we're going to become beekeepers. So that year, and that's a whole different discussion, but how you become a beekeeper, what you do to beekeep. But we got our first hive, and that hive then year after year grew from 1 to 2, 2 to 4. And now we're roughly about 20 to 25 hives at any given time. We collect beeswax and honey from the hives. And so partway through that experience, probably about 2015 or 16, maybe even a little longer, the local chamber of commerce here in Emporium asked us if we could provide honey for them. And so we really didn't have a lot of honey to work with. So we decided to start making other products. At Christmas time, I made some soap. Some friends were making soap, so I kind of tagged along and I became enthralled with that. So we started making soap, and then started making lotion and things like that. So kind of like Rachelle, I just have an interest in those kind of things. No formal training, no formal background in it, but kind of perfected the recipes. And I always tell people we don't really make money with Rich Valley Apiary, which is the first business we really started. But we do it so we don't lose money beekeeping. Beekeeping, unfortunately, has become very expensive. We're all natural. We don't treat our hives, and therefore, the last few years we've lost 100% of our hives, which adds up to thousands and thousands of dollars a year, and it's a shame. There's whole nother discussion on the bees and why, but so that kind of led to the Rich Valley Apiary. Pennsylvania Wilds actually approached us, and we started selling in their conservation shops, both in the Kinsey Bridge State Park and also over at the Grand Canyon, Pennsylvania. And we also sell through Akata and Ridgeway and things like that. And that actually is an interesting point, because we've finally come to the point where we have to prioritize, because there's only so many hours in the day and I can only work 20 of them. So we've actually started to reduce the number of locations we have our product in. So like Akata, we're not going to renew our membership. It's no offense, they're a great program, great people, but for us to be able to actually go and restock those shelves, and it's on consignment, so that means you get paid later for when the product sells. We just can't afford to do that right now with our time and the money. So we're kind of reducing. We reevaluated. The Rich Valley Apiary has kind of taken third place in our current list of businesses. That led us to at one point in our kitchen, I was roasting coffee for a local restaurant, doing the soaps and lotions, extracting honey, you name it, I was doing it. My wife was ready to kick me out of the house. So we finally decided to look for a building, and there happened to be an old church in Emporium that was sitting empty for a long time. Doesn't look like much like a church, but a good location right on Main Street. So we got that building in, I think, 2019, right in the winter of 2019, for a great price. It wouldn't have been feasible otherwise. And it was really just to move all my hobbies into one place. And so we started working on that building in 2019. In the meantime, a friend of ours, his husband had passed away. And I'd been a home winemaker and a home beer maker for many years too. And he approached me and he asked if he could get wine to send to some of his friends as a thank you for their condolences and things. So I gave him cases of wine I had. And when you're a home brewer, a home winemaker, you're always experimenting, so you have lots and lots of extra product. And so I gave him to him. And a few weeks later, he came back and he said, "Hey, you really need to think about opening a winery." And I said, "I appreciate that, but it's not really in the cards." And was busy enough with my real job and the apiary, and basically showed me pictures. He worked under the CFO of Subaru America, the car company down in either Philadelphia or New Jersey there across the border. And so he had sent the wine all over to like the CFO of Subaru and some of those other engineers at Subaru across the country, and they were really happy with it. So long story short, he kept approaching me while I was making soaps and lotions and things down there at the building. And he said, what's going to take to open a winery? I said, I don't have money for that. And he said, well, what do you need? I said, honestly, probably at least $10,000. And he literally wrote me a check for $10,000 and handed it to me. He said, I don't care if I ever get it back. And so by that very kind gesture, which we did repay him, it allowed us to really get it over the hump to go, you know what, this really could be a feasible business. I mean, you know, up to that point, everything's been self-funded, still is. So I really didn't want to, you know, take any major risks. Been pretty conservative my entire career. So we decided we're going to start a winery. And so from through 2019, we remodeled the building, and then February 14th of 2020, we opened, which was an interesting time because it was 1 month before COVID hit. So that led, of course, to a unique set of challenges for any business person. For us, it was okay. We weren't open or established for a very long time. So there was still a new business feel to it. A lot of people were still very interested. I was able to build the website out pretty quickly to allow for online ordering and curbside pickup. And so we were able to survive through COVID and come out the other side, stronger. So that's what we call Rich Valley Wines, which we started again in the beginning of 2020 and going to come up on our third year here pretty quickly here in February. So that's been going pretty well. And then unfortunately, we had some really tough times last year in 2021 personally. And it led to also, I lost my job for the first time in my life. I've always been gainfully employed. I've always had very good jobs, making very good money. I'm a very technical, again, my ADHD has always been a benefit, not a hindrance for me. I memorize all kinds of strange random part numbers for products and things. So I'm in industrial sales. I worked for a machine shop until 2011. That was my main job. Went and took a sales job at a company that sells industrial supplies. So I did that successfully for about 10 years, handling about $4 million a year in product that I would personally sell to the customers in our area in manufacturing. And last year in June, they let me go. First time in my life. So it was very interesting. I've never been laid off, never been fired. I only worked really 2 places in my career. So, but it was really, especially now looking back, but even then I knew it was an opportunity I couldn't pass up. First time in my life I've ever had the opportunity to finally not be as conservative and start my latest business, which is called Maxx-Q. Maxx-Q is an industrial supply company I started. I provide higher end tooling to the manufacturing companies around here. So all the tool and die shops and like Elk-Cameron County, like Qualidye and Goode Tool and Die and St. Mary's Tool and Die. I always like to say I sell the parts to help make the parts. So I sell everything from small cutting tools to things that, like some of these cutting tools actually. So like this box here, this one not in particular. Oh, you can't see it. They might be $300 to $400 for this little tube. I get product in UPS and he throws the box around. I told him, I said, that's $12,000 in that box, So this business has really, again, allowed us to continue to grow, to again, pay the bills. The apiary is what I would call self-sufficient, but that's about it. Not profitable, not losing money, but not very profitable. The winery is slightly profitable. A lot of people think you make a lot of money in a winery, but we chose to do it in our hometown of Emporium, which is a very small, obviously we're in the least populated county in the state. So, if you were doing market research to start a business, you wouldn't necessarily decide to do it in Emporium, but we did it out as a labor of love for our hometown more than it is a moneymaker. And we also do it responsibly. We feel very responsible for our community members. So we're not there to get people intoxicated. We're not there to get people, we're open limited hours, very well lit, no smoking, very nice environment. So we try to keep it very upscale, and therefore it limits us to a certain group of people that were our target audience. The Maxx-Q, like I said, that's one that really has to pay the bills. And it's really in an interesting point. As we speak, actually, as the meeting was getting set up, I'm trying to set up payroll for the first time ever. So as you look at becoming an entrepreneur, Abby Peters from Pennsylvania Wilds had a slide show one time I saw, and the slide was the best I'd seen. It's a meme that says, an entrepreneur, someone who works 80 hours a week to avoid working 40. And it's the truth. You really never stop working as an entrepreneur. And I tell people now that when they ask me about the new business Maxx-Q, I said, I work twice as hard and make half as much, but I do it for me and I do it on my terms and I do it ethically and I do it where I feel that I'm doing service to the customer. And it's not just about sales numbers. There's to some CEO or sales manager that really doesn't care about the product or the people that it impacts. So it's kind of my background in a nutshell. None of it was like I said, unfortunately, all is self-taught. Even in the line of work I'm in now, one of the biggest challenges is QuickBooks. I've learned QuickBooks pretty thoroughly this last year, and unfortunately realized it's the most horrible software ever made. But especially the online version.
I don't know why I
but
hate
those
it
are,
so much. It's
yeah,
terrible.
those are the challenges, and then you have to figure out. So when you're an entrepreneur, you're the bookkeeper, you're the delivery person, you're the engineer, you're the the psychologist, the HR person. You're everything. You do it all, and there is no time off. Like Rachelle mentioned, even when you're on vacation. Matter of fact, one of my vendors I work with closely is on vacation in Florida or in Orlando with his kids as we speak, and he called me because we have a project we're working on. So even we don't get to walk away. You're always trying to make sure you're taking care of the customer, and therefore sometimes that could be Thanksgiving Day for all you know. So but our customers, like I said, obviously those three businesses cover a wide variety of customers. A lot of it's tourist-based economy. Obviously, I would say the apiary and the winery both cover, not only just a service for locals, but also for, people passing through with the traffic from the Elk Center. There's almost 500,000 people that travel through our year there. They obviously come, and COVID changed the way people do their vacationing and things like that too. So they started to do things closer to home. I forget what the number is, but we are within a 5-hour drive of millions and millions and millions of people. If you think of New York City and Buffalo and Erie and Scranton and Wilkes-Barre and Pittsburgh, we really are in a very central location, and people really wanted to get away. They wanted to get away from the bigger cities. Had a little bit of an awakening to like, wait a minute, what are we doing crammed together in these small buildings and no open space, no fresh air? And so we started to see a lot of clients or customers come in, especially the winery, that we would never see otherwise because of COVID. So it's been an interesting shift there. The manufacturing, like I said, we heavily are involved in automotive in our area. Probably over 50% is automotive. So it's going to be an interesting transition in the next 15 years to electric vehicle, which is a whole nother rant. I don't think electric vehicles will be, I think it'll actually be hydrogen-based fuels, will be more sustainable, and especially the raw materials and stuff that are made there. But so then, like an entrepreneur, everything we do for sales, marketing, we do ourselves, Facebook, not much on Instagram. My wife's better with that. Social media definitely helps. It kind of levels the playing field. Obviously, many years ago when there was no social media, you had to pay big money to be marketed out there in the world. Now for free or very low cost, you can be marketed across the country. So it's pretty impressive what social media can do. Which kind of a point about YouTube. I mentioned earlier, YouTube. I always like to tell kids when I talk to them, you can learn anything on YouTube. You can learn how to fly, a Falcon rocket from SpaceX, or you can waste it watching Fortnite videos and, silly stuff. So spend your time wisely. You can always learn something new. That was my motto. I'm always trying to learn something new almost every day. Read books, watch YouTube videos, Google it. That's how I taught myself and have learned everything that I do. So future growth, kind of like I mentioned, actually some areas we basically had to reprioritize this year. We had to look and say, okay, this isn't paying the bills. Like the apiary is great. We enjoy it. It's a great heart project, but in PA Wilds, I was on a really big call with PA Wilds, a Zoom call with some other big names, and they're going for over $100 million grant through the federal government. And on the call, I raised my hand and I said to Talia, who started PA Wilds, I said, but what are you doing for Cameron County? And I hate to start to be selfish, but we're starting to say, we've tried to be supportive and do everything for everybody else, but we really need help here now in our rural counties, and especially in Cameron County. It's just if we lose our largest employer here, which American Axle bought out, that's 25% of our workforce gone. And we're already the least populated county, so it's a downward spiral with the taxes. Whole another thing with a small business, the amount of taxes and things. Learning to file paperwork. Just for the winery, I think there's 5 or 6 different taxes I have to file, different excise taxes, both state and federally, research tax, and it's actually hard to keep track of. It's something that, of course, a bigger place, hire an attorney to do that. But when you're an entrepreneur, that's unfortunately a luxury you don't have, when it's all out of your own pocket. And so you got to learn you're a lawyer too. You got to advocate for yourself and and learn all the ins and outs. And so that's kind of my background in a nutshell. More than happy to answer any questions. I encourage young people to consider. And another thing too is, by no means would I expect anybody to come out of high school and start a new business. It's not easy. And what allowed me is my about 20 years now, or over 20 years of experience in the world, is where I finally would feel comfortable starting my own business. Up till now, I paid my dues. I worked third shift. I worked second shift. I learned everything I could learn along the way. And now I'm comfortable to start that. So you have to pay your dues. Sometimes you just have to really work hard. But it is true in the United States. We're very fortunate. If you really want to do something and you put your mind to it and you work harder than everybody else, you really can thrive. So, don't stop working hard and don't stop learning.
Great advice. Great advice. Nice story. I get amazed with everything that you can accomplish with all your businesses. So students, if you have any questions, put it in the chat. We're going to move on to Alexis, and then we'll come back to questions, or I guess move on to Michelle, who's logged on as Alexis. And we'll come back with questions. So Michelle, I didn't get a chance to introduce you when we were logging on. So Michelle Bliss, as I had said, the owner of Fox's Pizza Den in Port Allegany and a Stitch in Time custom embroidery. Welcome, Michelle. If you want to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, and I appreciate being here. I'm really happy to tell all of you a little bit about my family and myself. I actually own two businesses now, which kind of like Ryan said, becomes a bit overwhelming sometimes. And there's very few hours of free time in your life. But I grew up in a family who owned a small business all my life. When I was 3 years old, my parents opened Fox's Pizza in Port Allegany, and our lives revolved around our business. And that's just how I was raised. And when I was in high school, I really started working at the restaurant kind of as an employee rather than just hanging out or being part of the family. And learning, my way up through just like everybody does, up the totem pole. Every job, every part of being in a business and being part of the bigger picture. Some of that I liked, some of that I didn't like. When I was a teenager, I probably thought, oh, I'd never want to be a business owner. As I got a little bit older, graduated from high school, my father was sick and he passed away when I was very young. I was 19 and I was working still in the family business. And my husband now, we were just boyfriend and girlfriend, young. We decided that we wanted to make that our life, just the way we wanted to proceed with our life. We wanted to be in the restaurant business. I have no idea why, but we decided then. We were young and we were hard workers and we liked it. We liked the pace of it. Sometimes there's a little bit of freedom, but it's just constantly moving, constantly creating new things and being a part of the community. And it was wonderful and we loved it. And that was about 20 years ago, almost 20 years. So there are hard times, there are great times. Never a day that goes by that you don't work, and it is hard work. And sometimes you're thinking, what am I doing? But I think that's in any job. But being self-employed can be very, it can be very exciting, but it can also be very difficult. And we were very fortunate because I had a family around me. And I say family, meaning my sister, who still works for us, my mom, who just recently retired a few years ago, my husband, and we kept, I think, 3 employees from our actual initial, when I was a child, people who I had grown up with through the years. So we had many, many people there to support us, to help us. And that makes all the difference in the world when you have people to rely on, people that you can trust to help you. And we were very, very fortunate with that. After we took over the business, my husband and I, we have been able to build a life around it, and a good life. We have a very good life. Sometimes I think, oh, this is hard work, but I think that, the gifts that we receive from being business owners has been wonderful for us, because it keeps us in check all the time. We always kind of have to say, what's the most important thing that we have to take care of? And that is keeping, our business in check, whether we don't really feel like working that day, or maybe we want to do this or do that, our business comes first. And, that's something that our children are learning now too, as they get older. Those things are important. And, at the end of the week, maybe you're like, wait a second, where did those 5 days go? That happens a lot, it's just very demanding. And sometimes I feel like in the way the world has changed, and we are very easily accessible all the time, Rachel and Ryan were saying, sometimes it's 11 o'clock at night, sometimes it's midnight, I'll get a message from somebody, hey, I need this, or can you do this, and that's tough. I can't remember ever my parents' phone ringing at midnight saying, hey, can you do this for me tomorrow? It's just a little bit different style of life that we live now. And sometimes I kind of have to take a step back and say, okay, I'm not going to answer my phone for a certain amount of time in the evening or at night. I'm going to put my phone in a different room so that I don't, because it can be very overwhelming. So, I wanted to touch on some of these things outlined in this overview. I did not have any education after high school. And when I say that, I mean no formal education. I worked in my parents' business growing up, and then my husband, he was in his 3rd year of college when my father passed away. So he had a lot more knowledge of business management, cash flow and things that, I really didn't have any knowledge of. I kind of, my parents took care of that. I waited on customers and took care of ordering and things like that, but I didn't have any of the background. And my husband has really always, and he's taught me along the years too. Just those are really important things, because, if you don't know how to manage your money, it becomes very difficult to continue on in a business. You have to be able to pay for, if you have employees, your employees have to be paid. You can't come Friday, say, oh, I'm so sorry, I spent too much on this or that, and I can't pay you this week. So when you become a business owner, you're responsible for other people's lives too. And it's very important. And sometimes when you kind of look at that, you're like, whoa, that's a lot. It is a lot. It is, there are times where I'm thinking, I don't want to be responsible for other people's what they need. But as a business owner, you have to, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. It's kind of like juggling. And I'm lucky because I have my husband to rely on. We have each other, you know, we have a good community around us. And I'm sure in different circumstances, I don't know, you know, I think it was 3 years ago, we actually opened the same year in 2020 when COVID hit. We opened a clothing store a few doors down from Fox's. And, you know, if we didn't have a successful business at the restaurant, I wouldn't have been able to open a second business. So, you know, I appreciate all of the gifts that we get from the restaurant, even though, you know, we give up a lot to be there and to just to, you know, grow as I think about our community a lot. And I don't know, you said you were from Cameron County, and Port Allegany is very, very similar to, you know, the same place. Our main streets are sad, and they look, you know, it's not like when we were growing up. Things weren't bustling. And I've tried to, you know, put more back into our community from what we have taken as a business. You know, people spend money in our restaurant, and that we're able to live here. And we try really hard to make our community better. And that's one of the reasons we opened another store, just to try to, you know, make things nicer, make downtown look better, have things closer so people don't have to leave town if they need, you know, a pair of jeans or a sweatshirt or something like that. And to me, I want the place where I raise my children, the place where I live, I want it to be a beautiful, nice place and a safe place. And we try really hard to put as much back into the community as we take. But sometimes it can be difficult because sometimes, you know, you feel that it isn't appreciated. But other times you're like, oh, I feel really good about this, you know? So it's kind of a give and take. And, you know, sometimes we have to do things that maybe we're not happy about, or, you know, things that we don't want to do, but we have to, because that's the way that business is. And that's how, you know, that's how we succeed. So let me go up here. Motivation, what motivated me? That's a tough one. I kind of feel like I grew up this way, and I could never see myself working a 8-to-5 job. I kind of feel like I don't know. I've never really had a boss. So, I mean, I had my parents, but
that's worse.
Sometimes that can be true. Don't ask my son. He was working for us over
I
the
would
summer.
say that's worse. Yeah.
So our target area is definitely our community of customers. We are very local based as a restaurant, and in my clothing store. We depend on local people to grace our doors, to buy pizza, to all of those things. We definitely, it's very local, and we have been very fortunate for the last 20 some years to have support from local people everywhere. Marketing. When we were just beginning in the restaurant business, my husband and I I would go to the radio station a few doors down and do a local radio, ad. And it's so funny now I think about it and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just pop on my phone in 2 seconds and I put an ad on Facebook and, the phones start ringing. So it's very different. People are so connected, so much quicker. Last night was pizza and breadsticks special for $20 and so busy. If we didn't have that ability, 20 years ago to reach people. So that's something that is very interesting to me. And it's very helpful as a business owner. It's just things are very different now than they ever have been. Obstacles. That's a funny one. Every day there's many, many obstacles. A lot of times I don't really know. Sometimes I kind of get like, how am I going to do this? Or how am I going to do that? Or how am I going to fit all this into a day? And, you just, like anything, you take one step at a time. You do your best and things kind of fall into place. And that's how you figure it out most of the time as a business owner, as a mom, as a wife. Like, you put everything into categories and figure out what needs, your attention most at that time. And, that's the way it goes. And your business is always very important. And there aren't times where you take time off. Like you said, maybe when if you're working a job where you take a week off, maybe your emails back up or you have some voicemails to get back to. But with a business, there's no weeks off. There's very, very few days where, your business isn't your main goal for the day. It's very, very demanding, and it's very important that you keep those things at the top of your list, because when you let things go, you feel like, you kind of can't get back there.
Like my text messages.
Yes,
Calls
very much.
And emails. It gets lost fast.
I don't have a lot of that in the restaurant, but I have a lot of that with my clothing store and embroidery business. And I'll tell you, that is one of my major downfalls. It's very hard for me to get back to people. And there's so many, there's Facebook, there's your cell phone, there's, just messages. People
I have
are
7 apps people message me to book on or to buy from. And I'm just like going through constantly. I'm like, I really hope I got back to everybody.
Oh my gosh. We have 19 employees at the restaurant, and I only have 2 employees at my store. So I kind of feel like sometimes I'm like, I think, I could have 19 employees at my store just to respond to people and messaging, but I'm joking, but it is very overwhelming. Sure. And sometimes your employees are overwhelming too.
Yep.
Yes. I hope to continue to grow both businesses. And like I said, we depend on local customers and people that live in our area to frequent our businesses. And we've been very, very fortunate to have successful businesses, and hopefully we can continue to grow and remain, in our communities.
You said a lot. I mean, it's like a family business. So you kind of like took over a family business. So that's, an interesting take today too. So we've had like 3 very different people, 3, multiple businesses. I think sometimes once you become an entrepreneur, you don't stop. You just kind of keep going. There are some people, that they just keep starting one business after another. So I think it's great, all the small communities that we have, that we have people like you guys that are, doing good things, bringing good things to our community. And I appreciate everything that you guys do for your communities.
Aw,
So
thank
we do
you.
have some students on. I don't know if they didn't put any questions in the chat. I don't know. Does anybody have any questions for anybody?
Amy,
Yes.
hi, this is Jill. I do have a student that has a question.
Great.
Come on up, Bianca, just to make sure she can hear. It was for Rachelle.
Okay.
Okay.
I was curious of like where the majority of your sales come from. Like, are they around like here, like in the Elk and Cameron counties? Or are they from like all over?
They are actually, so online for my services, it's Elk-Cameron. So like for like the lip fillers or anything that I do, it's a lot of Elk-Cameron Du Bois. Anyone, I get people from State College. I had people stay overnight from Pittsburgh to come and get lip fillers from me, which is really nice. And I think that's just social media marketing. For online, it's everywhere, which is really awesome. So if you have a good Snapchat, I don't know how I became a Snapchat creator a couple of years ago, but that has really helped me a lot. That I have like 5,000 followers on there, and then Facebook. Anything that you can do to get online helps you get out everywhere. And then also be like friendly with everybody. So I always try to message people back. You're always on your phone. I'm always on my phone. But it's the online is from everywhere that you can post to, and then people will check it out and see if they like the ingredients and then order.
Okay, and then also like since your like cosmetics is a very like competitive like branch or like industry, what do you think is the most important like thing to do to make your company stand out from others?
That's a good question. You're so smart. So what I like to do is it's kind of nerdy. I'll go through other cosmetic companies' ingredients, and I won't like post anything about it, but I'll say why that ingredient is bad or harmful to your body, your hormones. It'll cause a tumor. It'll cause cancer down the road. It could even cause ulcers, like some of the things, SLS in your toothpaste. You get mouth sores a lot. You need to get a toothpaste without SLS in it, and you would never know. If you get acne, all these preservatives will just make everything stand out. So I would say the thing that I like to do is to put in parentheses behind all my ingredients exactly what it is, and just be very, I guess you can't see, but if you look online or if you have any questions, all my products have parentheses, exactly the lay term after everything. And I think that's pretty cool because it's all very natural ingredients, but it's made by manufacturers, and that's what I wanted, because I didn't want to have problems sending it overseas and then them being like, did you make this at your house? Is this certified? So that was kind of the point of it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you have anyone else with any questions? No, I don't think so. All right.
Amy,
Then
real
I
quick, if I
think-
can I add one thing real quick?
Yes, absolutely.
Michelle kind of subtly touched on it, and it affects everybody here and in other small businesses. So the Saturday after Thanksgiving is typically known as Shop Small Saturday. And so there's a statistic: for every dollar you spend locally, 67 cents of that stays local. So, and I'm not saying it's easy to do. I mean, I shop at Walmart. How can't you? But when you spend money with a small business in your region locally, they're the ones that are sponsoring the baseball teams, the football boosters programs, the band, they're buying the fundraisers, and they're doing the best they can to give back to the community. So Michelle, very good point. And so when you support a small business locally, that money really truly does statistically 67 cents out of every dollar stays back local. So it's very important that you support those businesses.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that. That's a great point. In our small communities, it is very important to support our local businesses. I mean, the main thing is to keep them open so that they can stay in our community. I've seen so many small businesses in my little town come and go, and it's sad to see them have to close up their shop. Another thing that I've seen too in our community is businesses have multiple businesses in them. It's kind of like supporting each other. one person can't afford to, be in a brick and mortar place. So a couple people go together and, have multiple products. Or I know our local coffee shop has like other people's products that they sell for them in their shop. So it's really great to see a lot of collaboration going on in our communities among our business owners to help support each other and try to make everyone, be successful. All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for our session today, but I thank you, Ryan, Rachelle, and Michelle for sharing your tidbits with us. And I just want to let the students know that our next session is going to be December 15th at 9 a.m. For Cool Careers in Technology. And we have a cybersecurity officer, an automation program manager, and a desktop support technician who will be joining us for that session. So until then, I hope you all have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.